free health care to all these illegals, they all say it. If one says, let's jump off the bridge backwards, they all say it. They have no
What about this?
intelligence.
What about this Elizabeth Warren? Apparently, she's come out with some new policy every week ever since March or January, whenever she started her candidacy.
Yeah, I thought Pocahontas would not last because she had to take a DNA test to prove she wasn't Pocahontas. And to the left-wing media, it doesn't matter. They just drop it. If it doesn't fit their narrative, the narrative will continue. They'll just drop it. And I think I sent you that thing, the narrative, one time. It just explains how their mentality and how they react. I got that like 25 years ago. So it doesn't surprise me. And they're never going to stop criticizing him. No matter what he does, he's good. Whether it's good or bad, they never report some of the good things that are happening. So the candidates, I think he has a good chance of beating them. But people, I played golf with a friend of mine, and he said, well, I don't know about Trump. Those tweets, I think I'm going to vote for Biden. I said, you're probably listening to CNN. I said, just use your common sense, So I don't know.
But do you see any of them like this Biden or anybody stronger, or this Buttigieg or whatever?
Well, I hope it's Biden because he has a lot of baggage. He's a liar. He's been caught plagiarizing at least twice, and his son has made millions and billions of dollars with China and with Ukraine. None of that's come out from the media, but eventually, some Wall Street Journal and a couple of papers will make some. But what happens if that kind of stuff gets out? And he's just not very smart. He's just a glad handler. He's been in there for 48 years, and the rest of the candidates, the young guns there, don't like him, and they might trip him up. So I'm not sure. They don't want the old white guys anymore.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Well, Robert, there seems to be no let-up in Trump's negative media coverage. Last year, an angel mother wrote that she doesn't give a damn, quote, how Trump appears, but rather only cares about what he does. Why is 90% of the media obsessed with Trump's personality over Trump's job performance as a fixer? Because
before he was president, I'm sure you know, and I grew up in New York, and he's my age, or I'm his age, same thing. Right. He was always in the news. And they don't like, he gets free news. He was good and he was bad. And a lot of the good things he didn't get credit for. But he's just smarter than them because he has good instincts when it comes to media. He had his own show, and he creates this firestorm, and they don't like to be, found guilty or wrong. And they'll never admit they're wrong. They'll never give them an open forum. And my concern is when the debates come up, who's going to run the debates? CNN, MSNBC, but there should be, as far as I'm concerned, it should be an independent organization, like the League of Women Voters or something. No media.
I noticed that Fox did some of the Democratic debates recently. So yeah. Well, Trump was a Democrat most of his life, but was elected president as a Republican. Let's talk about the Democratic Party again. In another email blurb he forwarded to me, the American Liberty Report makes the point that the Democratic Party is actually guilty of money laundering. According to them, PP, or Planned Parenthood, which receives $500 million from taxpayer money as well as from private money, has announced it will fund a comprehensive new initiative to unseat Republicans at both the state and federal level. The ALP, or American Liberty Report, concludes that the Dems keep taxes high to federally fund Planned Parenthood. PP takes those funds, as well as private funds, to campaign for Dems. Could you comment on this?
Sure. My own experience in New York State, we had unions, right? I was not in a union because I was in management. But all the money that was taken out of everyone's paycheck to go to a civil service union, that money went to Democrats in the state. That's why New York State Democrats, get how they get funded. So, but in terms of the American Liberty Report, it's interesting. Planned Parenthood just yesterday, this doctor who was just 8 months ago took over Planned Parenthood. She wanted to become more of a less of a just Planned Parenthood is abortion, and try to reach out to everybody else and talk about it as a healthcare organization. She was the only physician in charge of it. They ran her out of it. She had to resign. So they are doing exactly what it says in that report, but they will never be. And it's not allowed to be use because of the Hyde Amendment, but still, I think the other side of the equation has more of a persuasion with people than, Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is an abortion mill, as far as I'm concerned. I've had some experience with that too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, a big deal was made about Trump trying to pursue a business deal in Moscow before he became president. Some people say, so what? The guy is a businessman and had no idea he would become president for sure. Why was he persecuted? Why is he being persecuted about pursuing his business interests there in Moscow? Now that the Mueller report came out 3 months ago, let's talk about who's really guilty of collusion with the Russians.
Yep, you're right, because now there's another investigation. I'm sure you know about the U.S. attorney from Connecticut who was running that. He was supposedly a very even-handed U.S. attorney, and he's run corruption schemes before within the organization, the FBI, and the Justice Department. So he is right behind bar. He's got a lot of things going, and the problem is cooperation with the FBI and some people in the Justice Department who will not cooperate with information. But there's more than enough info to start the investigation, which they've already done, and they're getting people to turn and point fingers at somebody else. He did this kind of thing, like every prosecutor will do. They'll get 2 or 3 people on their fringes and say, "What do you know about this? Because if you don't tell us, we're going to try and convict you." And so they're getting a lot of information that you haven't seen before from people you don't know about. But people like Strzok and Page and Comey and all those, they're guilty. But they have set about on the talking shows to prove their innocence with books and stuff, which are lies. So, but there's lots of ways. I think what probably the current Attorney General is going to have a report on this at the beginning of next year and follow it up with Congress with more information. And he's very smart. He's been around, apparently he's part of the DC swamp for the last 40 years, this guy. But he's very straightforward with the law. He said it's not if you break the law, break the law. Apparently the other ones weren't. So we'll see.
Now that Brexit will probably go through on October 31st, do you think the USA's trading relationship with the UK will ever equal that of Europe's?
I'm not really well versed on that. I think our relationship with the UK has been very strong and always will be. And I think they have always been either our number one trading partner or before China. But China is a different story. But I don't know what the UK's relationship with the EU is. But I still think Britain is closer to us in trading, and I think I'm not really sure what the Brexit will do to Britain.
Well, it's supposed to
say, okay, they're not going to be part of the EU.
Right.
Right.
So that's supposed to increase the trade with the USA at that point.
Oh, they will definitely. I think that will definitely happen because I think they're already planning for that. But I thought, in my mind, I thought Brexit was still up in the air because of Theresa May's retirement.
Yeah, it technically is, but then Boris Johnson will be prime minister, and Brexit's supposed to be going through is still on October 31st.
What's an interesting thing about the European Union? I told my brother many years ago when it started, I said, you can't take away a country's sovereignty and create a coinage that everybody will use. It seems to work, but once, there's countries that have their own sovereignty. And they have to be ruled by some bureaucrats in a small country that have no concept of what goes on in the other country. I mean, I don't understand that, but I guess it works. That's true. But I guess Ireland's not part of it, and a couple of others were smart enough not to be. So,
well, yeah, and then there's that whole border thing between Northern and Southern Ireland too.
That's true. That's true.
Well, any other last thoughts? We only got a minute left there on Trump and journalism bias and what's going to happen in the elections coming up.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I just looking today on AOC is being opposed by a Jamaican. She's a woman, 38-year-old entrepreneur, female from Jamaica, is running against her because AOC got rid of 25,000 jobs in Queens with Amazon, average salary of $125,000, and she needs to be beaten. If she gets beaten, or if the polls show that people will vote, but New York is New York, unfortunately, and
well, Donald Trump is from New York, so
that's right, and you're right. He was a Democrat. He was this, but he's an American. That's all. He wants America to be better. That's all.
Right. Well, sorry, Robert, we're near the end of the time here. I'd like to thank Robert Spence for being on our program today. Remember, this is Curmudgeonly Yours with host Richard Bont on Society Bites Radio. You can also hear Curmudgeonly Yours on Spotify, Sound Echo, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and many other platforms, including our very own societybitesradio.com or richardbont.com. Click on podcasts. Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome, Richard.
So I'd like to thank our guests for being on Curmudgeonly Yours today. And please, if you like what you heard, send me an email to richard@richardbont.com. And if you didn't, please keep your comments to yourself. Remember, this is Richard Bont and Curmudgeonly Yours on Society Bites Radio, where everything is what it seems, nothing is what it seems, and what is not said is often of most interest.